I'm Dr. Karthik Nagendra. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of DemandFarm, a leader in digital key account management solutions. Welcome to our podcast, The Shift. It is a thought leadership podcast which focuses on bringing together sales and marketing leaders from across the world to share their perspectives around the future of key account management. Digital transformation has become an essential element for businesses looking to remain competitive in today's ever changing business landscape. Companies that have embraced digital transformation have reaped many benefits, including things like increased productivity, improved customer satisfaction, enhanced sales performance, among others. One area where digital transformation has made a significant impact is in sales. The ability to seamlessly integrate digital tools, platforms into the sales process has resulted in a more efficient and effective sales experience, both for the buyer as well as the seller. Right. So from streamlining the sales process to providing real-time data, insights, and giving them actionable outcomes that they can look forward to, digital transformation has opened up new possibilities for businesses to deliver a seamless sales experience. So how do organizations go about doing this? We need an expert to share those perspectives with us. And that expert guest with me today is Prasad Varahabhatla. He's the Senior Director, Sales Incentives and Data Operations with Philips. So let's listen to Prasad and the insights that he has to share on this topic. Hi, Prasad. Really nice to have you with us here today.
Glad to be here, Karthik.
Yeah, so Prasad, why don't you tell us a bit about your role at Philips?
Yeah, I'm currently a Senior Director for Sales Incentive and Data Operations at Philips North America. My responsibility includes the readiness activities as we set up for the go-to-market models for every new year. It also the territory management activities. It includes some part of the goal-setting activities. It makes sure we have to make sure that we release the goals to our salespeople on time, and then start taking care of their compensation calculation and everything else through the year. Apart from that, my role also includes data operations. So I manage the entire data operations organization for North America region, which includes the maintenance and management of the right kind of data in our Azure data lake in North America. It's part of the larger commercial operations organization for North America.
Okay. Very interesting. So you get to deal with a lot of data out there, and I'm sure that data is impacting sales and revenue in one form or the other. So Prasad, my question is, why is revenue operations becoming so popular as a function, right? So you are in that space. So in your experience, how have you seen this revenue operations as a role and as a function evolve so far?
Yeah, actually, I think the question for this is slightly, historical. If you think about the last 15 years, the level of transformation that has happened to how we sell, the go-to-market models, has completely changed and probably turned on its head, frankly. Back in the day, right, many people actually think that revenue operations is this fancy new term for sales operations, and that can't be farther from the truth.
Yeah.
Because think about it, right? We used to have a separate marketing operations organization. We used to have a sales operations organization. Now, if you think about traditional sales operations, the focus was about, do I have a good funnel? Is my funnel healthy? Am I having good average win rates, right? And am I able to make sure that I land the deal? Are the deal sizes large? So the focus of traditional sales operations was always on the actual sale to the customer. But in the last years, when I talk about the transition, we have moved to cloud-based selling models. We have moved to software selling models, right? We actually have the new term that everybody talks about, and actually it's not new anymore, customer success and the customer experience. We start talking a lot more about how is the customer experiencing our product that we sell. So the engagement of the customer with the company does not stop when a salesperson lands a deal. It actually, in a way, starts at that point.
Yeah. Correct.
So if you look at this layer model that the Technology Industry Association came up with, land, adopt, expand, renew, the land is the first part of it. But then we have to ensure that our product is adopted. We have to ensure that we have enough skin, the customer has enough skin in the game with our product that they will actually stick. We start talking about the long-term value of the customer to the company, right? Yeah. At that point in time, if you think about it, there are a lot more people in the company involved in the revenue generation activity, because the customer, let's say, buys the product, but they do not adopt it, we obviously lose some level of subscription revenue and stuff like that. So
True.
what happens? Somebody has to be there, like a customer success manager, trying to ensure our adoption happens. Then you need to have a renewal manager who needs to find out, okay, are there some products or subscriptions coming up for renewal, so that we can actually have the right conversation with the customer. So it is a sequential activity. And I think in a company that I worked in previously, they came up with this racetrack, which talked about exactly how does the customer, after you land, how do you ensure that the adoption happens and the renewal happens, and you keep a consistent cycle with it, right? And even if you're talking about, let's say, large scale implementations, like I work in Philips right now, once we sell the product, it may take us 12 months to actually implement the product with the customer. There is a project manager who actually implements these products in the customer hospital. What do you do? Time, the way the project manager engages and the way the project manager has to engage with the sales organization, all of becomes part of a larger ecosystem. And it's where you think about revenue operations. Revenue operations is not just sales operations. It includes everything from marketing operations to sales operations to customer success operations, and putting it all as a whole together with clear view that this is the entire group of operations teams that give the right kind of experience to the customer. And that is revenue operations. And now the big thing that connects all of this is how these organizations work together and how data goes from one part of the organization to the last part of the organization to make sure that there's no loss in fidelity or customer information or customer need during this entire process of revenue generation. And that's, I think, the larger, more expansive view we need to take of revenue operations as a whole.
I think that was very beautifully explained, right from the historical evolution, because a lot of them actually think that RevOps is equal to sales ops, like you rightly said, but it's much beyond all of that. And very rightly you said, how do you actually ensure that the data is moving across and everybody is making sense in the right way of that data? So which means there are two things that come to my mind. One is with respect to the skill sets which are involved in making sense out of that. And secondly, from the digital tools which play a part in this entire piece as well. So I would like to focus on the skills part before we jump into the digital transformation bit of it. So what does the future of RevOps look like for you? And the kind of skill sets that will be required for people in that, which are like super essential to excel.
So if you talk about skill sets, right, I think one of the fundamental needs of most organizations is, I mean, again, either it's because of the way in which we define job roles and the way in which we define the job content in the role. As you go into the future, it becomes extremely essential not to just focus on what are the things that I'm responsible for delivering. As if you're an operations executive or operations resource in a large organization, let's say you're focused only on sales instead of operations, you have a responsibility to understand how did the data reach you? Who are all the people who worked on this before, right? What does this actually mean? And after you complete, let's say if you think about a pure DMAIC kind of model, people talk about SIPOC. Who's the software? What is the input? What is the process, which is what you're responsible for? What is the output of your process, and who's the consumer? Quite a lot of the times, because of either siloed structures or poorly defined job roles, people focus very much on their process. They're very good at it, but they don't necessarily know where it came from. They don't necessarily care where it goes to. The problem with that is you can do your job. Everybody can do their job perfectly. But if anything goes wrong in one of the processes and you don't really know who to go back to or how to trace it back, the thing that gets impacted is the experience of the customer, or the experience. In this case, in my case, my customer is my sales team. My job is to pay them accurately and on a timely manner. If my team does not necessarily know how to trace it back and say that, you know what, this is not, we didn't cause this, the order management team caused this. Who's suffering? The person who's suffering is the salesperson.
Correct.
So somewhere along the line, I think from a skill set perspective, what I'm thinking about is, I think people need to be more curious to understand both their dependencies and people or processes that are dependent on them. The second thing that that I think people need to understand is they need to have a far more expansive understanding of the entire customer life cycle and where all can we remove friction from the customer experience.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of things, right, we focus so much on the book or the process that we forget that all of these processes are for a purpose, the purpose of easing the way in which our customer or our salesperson experiences the entire process. And this is where digital transformation also comes into play.
Yeah.
The point is very simple. If a salesperson has to spend even 5 or 10% of their time on doing administrative activities, then why does operations exist? If a salesperson has to question how much their commission payment is and they don't really understand why or how the commission payment is calculated and they spend 5% of their time chasing their commissions, then we're not doing our job as operations anymore. And so somewhere along the line, the need for the right kind of digital technologies to ensure that we automate non-value added manual tasks and create a level of transparency, right? And seamlessness in the way in which the sales teams or the customers experience our delivery. That's exactly where I think the future lies, which means one of the other skills that everybody needs to have is if you do not have a viewpoint of how you can look at a process and automate it, then you possibly are not ready for the future.
That's so true. So I think having that digital first mindset would be the starting point if they have to really make sense of this entire piece. And in our experience at DemandFarm, where we talk to a lot of customers and prospects out there, we see that being one of the roadblocks as well, because a lot of them have not adopted digital transformation as yet. So they're unsure in their mind, saying, is this made for me? Do I need to do it right now? And if I do that, what can I expect out of it? Right. So for people who are in that dilemma, what advice would you give on how they can adopt or why they should be adopting the digital first mindset?
See, the thing is, it's not even a matter of choice anymore. The assumption that digital transformation is a choice is a joke, right? It's going to happen. Now, the point is whether you want to be a willing participant and a supporter, or you want to be pushing back on it. Right now, again, I'm not saying people should not question the digital transformation. You should absolutely question. But if a digital transformation is implemented by a company, and if it does not fundamentally change the job content of the people involved in that process, then we're doing it all wrong. Job content has to change. Some particular tasks that you do will have to be eliminated. The way you do the tasks will potentially be different. There's a need for relearning what you do, right? So in my opinion, people need to sort of become more of an ally than try to push back on digital transformation. And yes, I understand that this is very uncomfortable. There are many situations where people have been doing a certain job a certain way for a certain number of years. The assumption that will remain static will actually be almost like a career-ending conversation, as I see. But the thing is this, it's not that anybody needs to do anything. It will happen. And somewhere along the line, the best thing that people can do is question it if you think it's not adding value. Question it if you think that it's actually complicating the experience or complicating what they call the way in which a customer or a salesperson or anybody else, whoever your end customer is experiencing it. But don't stop it because, oh, this is not the way we've been doing it for years. Right? Because frankly speaking, in the last 15 years, we all know, if you look around your home, this is not the way we lived 15 years back.
True.
So it's almost silly to say that, oh, this is the way we do it all the time, is a very, very lame excuse. We should stop.
That's so true. And you're very right. The way we live itself is completely changed. What we see around us is completely changed, and we wouldn't have even imagined this a few years back. So focusing the lens on, say, 2023 right now. So we are living in a highly ultra dynamic world, right? So where a lot of things are changing around us. There's a lot of uncertainty. We are living in this VUCA world where we cannot plan things also far too long, right? So sales, account plans, strategies. So these can't be, static anymore, and they need to be a lot more agile, a lot more dynamic. So what does this mean to, you and your team in terms of probably planning for a more modular or scalable systems, which are adapting to the, ongoing need of your internal customer, like the sales team that you were talking about?
I think that's a great question, actually. I mean, end of the day, if you think about it, we are going through such transition in our company right now, where we are fundamentally changing our go-to-market models and structures. What we realized is most of our systems were built based on an assumption of finality or an assumption of fixedness in the way in which we approach the market. Once we start depending on customer needs and all that, we start changing how we structure our organizations. Every time we do that, we end up trying to spend $1 million or a few $1 million trying to upend all of our systems to fit the new way. But the idea is that, let's say 3 or 4 years from now, the market takes one more transition and we have to make this change once more. Should we spend the same $1 million or $2 million again? And somewhere along the line, this actually comes back to the way we start thinking about our solution architecture. And one of the words that you use, modular, is exactly how we are approaching it. Frankly speaking, if you think about it, if you take each process block and break it down to its core purpose, like territory management, whichever way you do it, territory management as a function and as a process will exist. Because every time you want to go out and sell, you will have territories. True. So if you take territory management as a block and create a very flexible territory management model wherein I can break up the geography in whichever way I want, I can cover it whichever way I want, I can create business rules around how to credit whichever way I want. You create that level of flexibility in business rules and that level of flexibility in how you can, it's almost like, think about that process as a set of Lego blocks. I can make a car with it, I can make an aeroplane with it, but give me the Lego blocks in a meaningful way. So that's what modularity looks like to me. The same way, if you think about the function of sales crediting, today I want to pay these people on this particular kind of business, but tomorrow I want to pay the other group of people and not these people anymore. Now, for me, at a simplistic level, that's just a business rule change. I say, if X pay Karthik, if Y pay Prasad. And now let's replace Karthik and Prasad with a different group. If X pay sales account managers or key account managers, if Y pay specialists, as an example. The point is, all of these, in my opinion, are abstractions of business rules. So somewhere along the line, we have to design our systems more modularly. We have to drive a lot of our decision-making and setup activities and everything else with a very rule-based mindset, right? And that's how we need to start thinking about it. So that's exactly what we are trying to do this year, so that where especially the sales performance management systems that we are trying to manage, we are trying to look at a very, very modular approach of how we're going to do it, so that tomorrow, if there is a change in the way we want to cover the market, it will still require a few tweaks in the business rules, but it should not require a fundamental architectural shift in the core system. Right? And that's how you save money for the future. That's how you prepare for a future which will change on us. Absolutely. Because end of the day, when organizations change, when organizations reorganize, the most important thing that we need to remember is it's not like it's an easy task for senior leadership when they make these changes. True. There's a lot of thought that goes into it. When you're experiencing the change, you say, oh, why the hell are they doing all this? Why is all this change happening? It's not that it's anybody's fancy to make that change. It's a need from the market that drives leadership decisions, right? Sometimes they may work, sometimes they may not. That's more of a judgmental part. But more important thing here to note is nobody is doing this for fun. So when these changes happen, you be ready for it with the right technology, right kind of structures, right kind of solution architecture.
Very interesting. Just take a step back. You spoke about how data actually moves across the various tools and systems and how each one can make meaning out of it. So on that specific point, how important is it to have like a connected application architecture, right? In today's integrated sales tech, martech landscape that you would look at. Do you believe a standalone app solving unique problem versus a connected app ecosystem solving the bigger picture is the way forward for RevOps leaders?
And actually, that's again a very great question. So let me talk about two things, right? Revenue operations is still the same functions, marketing ops, sales ops. commercial ops and maybe customer service ops and all of that stuff. The two things that actually make for a successful revenue operations organizations are obviously digital transformation. We talked about it at length, so I'll let you go there. The second thing is information, data, and the power of data. So frankly speaking, if you think about it, revenue operations can be the best possible, let's say, machine that you build. Data is the fuel. And now when you talk about it, when I say data, right, I'm taking a very expansive view here, but think about it. How clean is your customer master data? If your customer master data is not right, somewhere along the line, something will go wrong, either in the actual delivery of the product, or it will go wrong in the actual implementation of the product and everything else. It also will go wrong in terms of your ability to track your assets. So now we go from customer master data to asset management. Where are all the assets located? Are the assets located in address A, address B, or address C? And you actually have all the data in terms of when is the asset coming up for renewal, right? When is the asset coming up for end of life or end of service or whatever else can you sell the service contract? If you don't have that information, if you don't have traceability to the information, and most importantly, if you don't know how to use that information to drive the next sale, you're losing an opportunity right there, right? After the customer master data or asset management data, you start talking about, first of all, do you have a complete view of your customer? Do you have a complete view of the lifetime value of this customer? Do you have a complete view of exactly where the opportunities lie with this customer? As an example, like for instance, can you actually look at your asset data and say that, you know what, you come up with a very good new solution or a new offer. And if you look at your customer assets, say that, you know what, I can look at this customer, I can look at this 2,500 assets they have, and I know immediately that given the products that this customer has, this particular solution we're coming up with this customer is the perfect target for that solution. Do you have the intelligence to do that? And what drives that intelligence is the right kind of data, clean data that's actually curated, maintained. It's not just about cleaning it once and leaving it at that. You actually have to start from the source to ensure that no pollution comes into the data sets, right? So if you start thinking about data is the power that will make a revenue operations organization successful. The second thing is obviously the engagement. Now, I'm not proposing that all organizations should come under this one Uber revenue operations organization. Now, that's an organizational design conversation. People can design whichever way they want to design. However, siloed organizations and organizations that don't understand the handshake, who don't understand that revenue operations is a relay race and not a 100-meter dash. Somebody has the baton and the baton has to move to the next hand. And the most efficient way of doing it is through digital technology and data. And that's how the baton passes, and that's how you win the relay race.
That's so nicely put across. So my last question to you, Prasad, is I'm sure you've done a lot of technology-led transformation in your role over the years. So if you were to pick, one success story of a technology-led transformation, which something which is very close to your heart, which added value to the sales team, account management teams, partners, customers, whoever, and what were some of the challenges that you overcame during that period, and finally resulted in operational efficiency across the customer life cycle? I think that will be very interesting for people to know.
Yeah, there are a couple of examples from my past life in my previous company, right? One of them is fairly internal operations focused, which definitely impacted our sales operations, right? So it's more of an operational efficiency play. One of the other ones is actually more of how we changed the experience of our partner organization, or how our partners experience data. Let me start with the first one. So in my previous company, we used to have a lot of transactions that used to come in, about 36 to 40 million transactions in a year. And one of my team's responsibilities was this activity called sales crediting. Now, sales crediting, we actually, over a period of about 4 years, we did move our sales crediting automation from almost 70% to 95%. However, even if at 95%, right, 5% of transactions not fully automated. And what I mean by automated is the order comes in through the order management system, it gets credited to the right person 95% of the time, automatically with no human touch. But 5% still was about 1.4 million transaction lines. So we used to have a business process outsourcing team whose job it was on a daily basis to look at 3,000 or 4,000 failed transactions and assign it to somebody on the basis of business rules. Now, my team was the global process managers and the process operations team. If we could write the business rules that a human can take and assign to the right person, the question we asked is, why can't a system do it better? Took us 9 months. We did a pure play data science model. We implemented a large big data platform at that point in time. And after 9 to 10 months, what we did is this. We implemented this machine learning algorithm right into our process. We inserted it in between. So what happens is when a failed transaction comes in, it does not go to that bucket where a human picks it up. Instead, we route it through our AI engine. It used to pick it up at almost like 90% of the time. It used to assign to a person. And what we did is, for the first few months, we actually, even after the system assigned it, we still asked our humans to check. After we saw that it was almost like accurate 80 to 90% of the time, we removed the human from there and said, okay, pass it through. What happened was this: we were able to automate almost 70% of those failed transactions through the system accurately, and only 30% went to our BPO teams back in India and China.
Interesting.
This automatically reduced our cost by close to $800 to $1,000 to $1 million in a year, just like that. Right now, that's an operational cost, and this is pure digital technology. It's pure backend. Now, how does this benefit the sales team? The first thing is it gives them accuracy and visibility to their credits faster, right? Within about 15 to 20 minutes, or even possibly about 6 hours, let's say, from the time they place the order, they can see the credit in their bookings reporting. That's beautiful, because every salesperson would like to see that immediately. It also helped us automate, because our CEO used to see, or I think consistently sees, the data assigned to the right geography, right individual every morning. So it accelerated that process too. It just removed a lot of manual churn from the activity. The second example is the example that I actually talked about previously, right? We actually looked at our data from our partner organization, right? Where we actually provided our distributors and our largest distributors in our previous company data that told them where their opportunities for renewals lie, by cleaning up all of their information around the sales that they've done in the past, and clearly identifying that these are the places where you actually will have opportunity to go and drive renewals. It actually resulted in millions of dollars of renewals that happened. And again, all of that was done by just understanding the data that we were dealing with, the ability to extract the right kind of insights from that data, and provide it to the people who are actually in a position to go and make the sale. The entire thing is about either operational efficiency or increasing the velocity of the sale. And I think so somewhere along the line, there is so much that you can do when you have the right, let's say, digital mindset, and definitely unadulterated, unrestricted, but governed access to data. I am a big proponent for data access. In my opinion, every revenue operations organization should focus on getting their hands on data and getting their ownership of data, become your own data steward. Do not depend on too many other places on owning the data that drives your business.
I think you wrapped it up really well, Prasad. I think it is imperative that everybody has a digital first mindset. It's no longer a choice. You nicely said that, give me the Lego blocks, and the Lego blocks which may have meaning, and that RevOps is actually a relay, and you need to pass on the baton. And last but not the least, how do you make sense of this entire data and using digital transformation so that you're improving operational efficiency and thereby contributing to revenues as well. So totally loved our conversation. Thanks once again for being part of this show and sharing these valuable insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Karthik. Thanks for inviting me.
Our pleasure. For more such insights, best practices, and thought leadership content, visit our website, www.demandfarm.com, or follow us on LinkedIn and Twitter @DemandFarm.